7:02.
The Big Interview
With Bongani Bingwa.
17 minutes after 7 o'clock. I've just played you the comments made by the former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, particularly when it comes to the prosecution of those who were mentioned in the report after, of course, the commission looking into state capture, which he chaired. And he simply says the Hawks are not up to the task. And he cites cases from PRASA from as long ago as 2017 that haven't been acted upon adequately. You may remember on Friday we spoke to Advocate Paul Pretorius, who was, of course, the chief evidence leader in the State Capture Commission process. So we've asked former NPA prosecutor and DA spokesperson on justice, Glynnis Breytenbach, to join us. Advocate, a very good morning to you and thank you for your time.
Good morning, and thank you. Morning to everyone who's listening.
So let's just talk broadly before we talk about some of the more recent developments. When you read in the papers the comments made by the former Chief Justice, I mean, the common cause, we all know not much has been done around some of the state capture matters. And he talks about how disheartening it was to have to swear in as ministers some of the very individuals he had made adverse findings against in that commission. What's your response?
Well, I can only but agree with him. He has found in his view that the Hawks are not up to the task. We know they're not. We see that they're not. We know that the NPA is not up to the task. We see that they're not. And yes, cabinet ministers and other members of parliament who are seriously implicated in very serious wrongdoing are constantly wandering around the halls of parliament. It is disheartening, and I can only imagine for the Chief Justice to have to stand there and swear people in who he's sat and listened to for months and years, evidence, reams of evidence, and nothing has happened with it. Nothing discernible has happened with it.
People look at the NPA and they will say, look, whilst there are one or two green shoots here and there, overall, the impression, at least the public has, is that it is dysfunctional and really disappointing. Is that impression incorrect?
No, it is dysfunctional and it is disappointing. That being said, I mean, there are reasons for it that you can't blame the NPA today for. There's a long history since probably 2010, maybe even earlier, where the concerted effort by the ANC government was, and more particularly by Mr. Zuma's government, to hollow out any kind of investigative and prosecutorial skill set anywhere in the NPA and in the police, to destroy those skills and dilute them as much as possible to allow for large-scale looting and state capture with no accountability. And that, was done with targeted appointments in targeted posts. And, we all know the history. And the result of that is that both those institutions, the National Prosecuting Authority and the South African Police, have been left with a serious deficit of experience, of skills, and the National Prosecuting Authority is not an investigative organization. So it depends almost entirely on the ability of the police, and for these kinds of cases, the Hawks, to produce a proper, well-investigated case docket. The investigative directorate is something different. It's quite recent. I suppose that it probably needs a little more time, although I don't necessarily think so.
Well, how much time is
we're
more?
Not even seeing great stuff there.
But how much time is more time? I mean, we keep thinking of some of these institutions. Yes, some of the denuding of skill and experience began years ago, but for example, the suspension of Andrew Chows just last week comes after many, many years of questions around his prosecutorial decisions, including, of course, the withdrawal of the case against former Minister Zizi Kodwa, for example.
Yes.
Those are current issues.
They are, and Advocate Batoy did ask 4 or 5 years ago for him to be suspended. He must be suspended by the president. He's appointed by the president. She can't suspend him. And the president, did nothing. It's one of, his stronger points. And he did nothing. Now, five years later, he gets suspended. But the damage done isn't only the withdrawal and the questionable prosecutorial decisions. It's the toxic influence that a director of public prosecutions has on an entire division. The NPA is a top-down organization. So when you have a DPP like Chowke who has a specific agenda, that permeates throughout the entire division and causes damage that will take so many years to repair. And it's those kinds of things that, drive people to distraction. It causes one to tear one's hair out.
What about the continued losses where the NPA is, words like incompetent, lack of preparedness have been used in a number of judgments, and you can think to any number, including, of course, the Omotosho case. What do those losses indicate to you?
They indicate to me what everybody, I think, knows now, that there's a serious lack of skill to prosecute. Look, the NPA is a massive organization, and there are over 200 prosecutors who go to work every day and do their best. And the cases are ticking over the ordinary cases, But when you're sitting for an hour and a bit a day, then you can't expect miracles to happen in any court. So there's a problem, a big problem. But for the skill set to prosecute state capture, high-level corruption, high-level organized crime is so they're so bereft of those skills. They have only a handful of people who are able to do those kinds of cases, because it takes years to achieve the kind of experience and the level of knowledge that is needed to prosecute those cases. It's a job that's learned on the job. You need 10, 15, 20 years to be able to prosecute those cases with any kind of ability and confidence. So those skills are gone. They're leaving us at an alarming rate. That people are retiring, and because the skill set is not there, there's no one for young prosecutors to learn from.
So we're going to be stuck with this problem.
Compounded.
You're going to be stuck with this problem for quite some time. Shamila Batoy, as the current National Director of Public Prosecutions, she's due to retire in January. What will her legacy be? How will you look back on her tenure in charge?
Well, it's...
Come on, you can say it.
Well, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. But having said that,
what's disappointing? Get into it. We all hoped that she was going to be the clean broom.
Yes, well, in fairness, we all hoped that she would be the clean broom, and she has done a lot of work to turn the organization around internally. She has tried very hard to change the internal culture of the National Prosecuting Authority, but it's not a one-woman job. It depends on her senior staff, and some of her senior staff are people like Andrew Chate. So it becomes an impossible task. And it hasn't happened as quickly as we'd hoped. The organization was in a terrible state of disrepair when she got it. But of course, she hasn't made the progress that I'd hoped she would make. She has made progress. I'm not suggesting for one moment that she hasn't made progress. She has. But
do we need an alternative? Do we need an alternative prosecutions mechanism that works in tandem with the NPA, but perhaps separately? How do we solve this problem?
In my view, at the moment, there's only one way to solve this problem. That is to take away that top tier of prosecutions away from the NPA, relieve them of it because they're not able to do it at the moment. Leave them to get on with the job that is their biggest job, and that's dealing with criminal prosecutions. And high-level state capture, high-level corruption, high-level organized crime should be prosecuted by a separate institution that is housed outside of the National Prosecuting Authority.
Bring back
So
the
that-
Scorpions, basically.
Well, bring back the Scorpions, but remember that the Scorpions were housed within the NPA.
Yeah.
And so when they went after politicians, they got closed down with a simple majority, 50% plus one in Parliament, because the politicians didn't like what they were doing, didn't like the bite. So you need it outside of Parliament. You need to have it as a Chapter 9 or other protected institution that needs a heightened majority in Parliament that no one political party will ever see again, so that it's insulated from that kind of knee-jerk revenge and ensure security of tenure. And then you can start to go after these people, because then there will be no fear of retribution, no fear of losing your job, no fear of being closed down and finding yourself in the wilderness. So you'll have a proper skill set. You'll be able to attract people with great skills. It must be properly resourced, that goes without saying, and you must house investigative and prosecutorial and forensic skills in one organization like the Scorpions were, and go after these people with some gusto. And then we'll see prosecutions happening, and we'll see successful prosecutions happening.
Would you go back?
Well, go back as what? Certainly I would love to be involved in fighting crime, corruption, and organized crime. Absolutely, on any level, yes. I would be happy to. Would I go back to the NPA? No.
All right. Glynnis Breytenbach, appreciate your time. Former NPA prosecutor, now DA spokesperson on justice.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.